Elden Ring level 1 4 scrubs by a even bigger scrub. I went into this level 1 run completely blind. To give context, I've beaten the game quite a few times before, however it was always kinda casually without too many restrictions. So I decided to do this run to force myself to either get good at the game, or to at least start understanding the game, bit by bit. There are no restrictions for this run, other than me having to finish at level 1 of course. And I guess no summons, but that's just kinda the normal way. Other than that, anything goes, and yeah, that includes even spells. For Margit, I went with a basic plus 0 Uchi. I didn't think anything more was necessary, and I didn't want to trivialize Margit too much, because Margit is generally one of the bosses who dies too fast, and I never get to learn the fight because he died before I had to properly learn it and adjust to it. And this time too, my execution was pretty sloppy, but it was on this attempt good enough to close the fight out, so I guess we take that. Next up, I took Commander O'Neill out for a walk, not because I wanted to, but I wanted to get Millicent's quest going a little bit, just so I can get the Prosthesis Wearer Heirloom so that I can use the Ice Strand Hatchet as soon as possible. I know, it's only a shadow of its former self, but I wanted to give it a try, wasn't too impressed, but it served me well for the 3 or so bosses that I actually used it on. With it, I first went to visit the Big Red Wolf, so I could get the helmet that boosts my strength and intelligence by 2. If you were to put all my mistakes of all the other fights together, it would still come out as less than just against this wolf. He has the same problem as Margit, being too weak to properly have to learn him, while also having the moveset of a dog in a FromSoft game. Next up, without any real prepping, I went to Godric. Godric is still pretty easy, so the execution doesn't have to be that good, which it wasn't, but again it was good enough. And so long as I wasn't greedy, I'd say it went pretty well. This is also the start of the pattern where my greed is the main reason why I actually take hits. With Godric dead, it was time to go over to Renala. After what happened in the Lightning Only video, Renala was honestly quite cathartic. She's also the last boss that was pretty easy.
My first girlfriend turned into the moon.
Since at the time I was planning to use the Moon Veil, I had to fight Magma Worm. Died to him quite a few times as well. Mostly because I suck at dodging his attack where he charges forward while spewing fire. It was a good few minutes well spent though. Or maybe it wasn't. You're free to wait and see. I also decided to deal with the Falling Star Beast to get the Smithing Stone Miner's Bell Bearing. Afterwards, I decided to fight the Onyx Lord. I don't know why. I had a vision of what I wanted to do once, but yeah, that's long gone. He still died pretty easily though, so no complaints here. With the excuses out of the way, it was time for the Draconic Tree Sentinel. I know there is a cookery strat where you basically make him jump off a cliff, but I didn't feel like doing that. I decided to do this the hard way and the less fun way. By this point I had brought a cold broadsword with square off, and it's about here that I learned how big of a deal stance damage is. Spoilers, it's a big deal, but more on that later. This is also the part where doing things cleanly starts to be very important. Mostly because each and every one of his attacks one-shots me. Then I go back to Liarnia to deal with the local Earth-3 avatar to get the elemental physic buffs that I'm totally going to use down the road in this playthrough. That was sarcasm. Also no, I have no idea why a square of heavy point blank misses this thing, but it does. For gold 3, I decided to change the cold infusion on my broadsword to lightning, because I know that lightning is good against gold 3. Other than that, it was a tad sloppy, many things could have been a bit better, but just like my usual MO, this was good enough, and I went on to Morgoth. For Morgoth, I decided to swap to the Envoy's Longhorn. It is one of my favorite weapons in the game, and I do plan on using it on Fire Giant anyway, so might as well get it a bit earlier. Did grind for it for about an hour and a half. But as soon as I got it, I leveled it up to a +9 and went over to Morgoth. Just want to see how he would do against this thing. Spoiler alert, he didn't do too well. Fire Giant. Fire Giant is at least easy to dodge, most of the time, so I can focus on damage, except when I can't, cause I'm having to chase him down. It was a bit of a slog, but as long as I could manage to remain patient, it wasn't that bad. Since I was already dreading to fight the Godskins, I decided to go over to Radahn first. I completely suck at Radahn. But I suck at Radahn in a different way than I suck at other bosses. For example, let's take Radagon. Like, I suck at Radagon because I try to fish for openings where there are no openings. And I damn well know there are none, but I always think that I can sneak in an attack or two. Radahn, on the other hand, I just don't even know how to fight. And even when I see like streamers do it, it just looks easy when they do it, and when I do it, it's like I have 2 left feet for hands. Anyway, with him dead, I go over to Estelle. Didn't expect Estelle to put up much of a fight, especially against a +9 Longhorn, and Estelle did in fact not put up much of a fight against the +9 Longhorn. On the way to the Stargazer heirloom, I stopped to admire the sheer size of the bridge of the Divine Tower. Like it is, or well, at least before it got damaged. 3 times larger than all of fucking Stormvale. Like as a building, it's underrated how impressive it is. Also makes me a bit sad that the game never utilized one of these bridges for more. Like, you could have put a whole ass legacy dungeon on one of these. Or at least a village. I guess a man can dream of DLC. Now, in a move of complete and utter brilliance, I forgot to record the Godskins. I was grinding through attempts, stopped recording to erase like 15 minutes of bad attempts, and just forgot to record again. I only remember to do so on like the final hit. So yeah, what you're seeing right now is first up a failed attempt. I'll only quickly splice the final hit of the good attempt in at the last moment after this one. And yeah, I did remember to record only before the final hit and had to quickly tab out to start recording before I close out the fight. I had tried quite a few things out in Malekith. And he was, unexpectedly honestly, one of the biggest hurdles in this run. After trying out a few different things, I ended up dual-wielding greatswords, that being the Flamberge and the Lordsworn Greatsword. This is again where poise damage really shines, and this is also where I realized just how much more powerful jumping attacks are than normal hits. as you will see in this fight where I didn't really use any, just normal attacks. And this is without even wearing the raptor's black feathers, something I only remembered in the next one. Also yeah, I love trading with MacLeod so much that I decided to go with Opaline and Lion's Claw, just so I could once trade for an attack. I don't know if it ended up actually being a boon. I'm guessing the poise damage did actually a lot more than the straight up damage, but I guess we won't know. Gideon is a boss fight I keep forgetting, and in this run too he was completely forgettable. Which definitely isn't helped by him being positioned between two of the best and most fun bosses in the whole damn game. Now Godfrey. Godfrey made me switch to dual great stars. They were the optimal choice for him anyway, and they were also a weapon that I never really used before then. These two weapons also serve as an amazing lesson on just how much damage you can actually do on level 1. And that's even without any real buffs. And while I did run Frost for Godfrey, in hindsight I think I should have probably just gone with raw damage. And once again I overcommitted and relied on Opaline just so I could get in a trade that I had no business even attempting. But I guess that's just my nature and I have to learn to live with that. I expected Radagon to be much more of a problem than he actually was. He ended up being completely scripted as long as I get my dodges correctly. I mean, not completely scripted, there was like, depending on the speed of my execution, there were two possible ways that a fight can go, but as long as I dodge well, his fight was pretty easy. Trivial, even. Beast, on the other hand. Elden Beast was by far the biggest roadblock I've had in the whole game. Even worse than Malenia, to the point where Elden Stars was the only thing I actually had to Google on how to dodge. And even with him, my execution was kinda sloppy. At this specific moment, I wasn't sure on if he'll actually manage to launch Elden Stars or not. So instead of swapping to the spear for Black Flame Tornado, I went into riposte immediately, so that if he actually got Elden Stars off, so that I would be invincible during the animation. By this point I had choked quite a few times on Beast, so I wasn't risking it there. Luckily he didn't get off Elden Stars, and it took only a few more dodges, and Beast was finally dead. Now, on to the rest of the remembrances. I had to go through Noble to get to Richard. For the build I currently have, Noble was pretty trivial. Richard on the other hand also proved kinda easy. Mind you, I did upgrade the Serpent Hunter to a +9, but even then, as long as he didn't use his Acid Sling or a Rock Sling, I wasn't really too worried, and I evidently didn't have a reason to be worried because it took a while, but it wasn't that difficult. Next up, I fought Loretta. I didn't have to fight her at this point, nor did I plan on fighting Malenia anytime soon. I just wanted to get one of my favorite fights out, while I was still having fun. I genuinely dislike both VS Simps and 46. So I just took whatever was most optimal at the time. For VS Simps, it was of course the Sacred Relic sword. I tried out quite a few things for 46, none of them really worked, and since I really wanted to be done with the fight as soon as possible, I just took Ice Spear and dealt with it. Placidus X is still one of the bosses I'm worst at. Even in all remembrances, his fight is the one I have to force myself for the most, probably because he plays like Elden Beast a lot with his flying around and being mostly unhittable for like large amounts of time during the fight. But you know, can't compare him to Elden Beast because all the 46 lovers will have a reaction. This fight especially is super unoptimized on my end, and that's mostly because for the life of me I can't figure out the ranges on his Fire Breath attack, the Orbital Strike attack, and even some AoEs on his claw attacks. So I basically have no idea what I'm dealing with most of the time, so I really keep my distance, which draws the fight out super long, and it doesn't even look fun. With him gone, it's time to take a quick pit stop at Moe's. I didn't expect Moe to be much of a challenge, mostly because he is weak to bleed, he's prone to being stance broken, and I am wielding dual great stars. The fight absolutely went accordingly. Malenia 2 went just as expected. What I do hate about Malenia is that in essence she is a really easy fight. Even on level 1 she isn't really that difficult. However, she asks for a lot of self-control from, at this point, me, the player. Because I can't just jump in and attack whenever the hell I want to. I have to play very reactively, and only attack when I know the window for attack is pretty safe. Which still is pretty often, don't get me wrong. And you've seen throughout the video, like, I've used Opaline multiple times just to be able to take a trade with a boss. Simply because trading with bosses is one of the most enjoyable things for me in this game. So dealing with Malenia and her multitude of hyper armor attacks goes strictly against everything I generally always do in the game. I still like her though. But yeah, once I've managed to rein in my retardedness for all of 3 minutes, the fight wasn't difficult. None of her moves are difficult to dodge except Waterfall, and Waterfall can be dealt with in a multitude of other ways, which evidently I did. I used Frostpots because that's a strat I hadn't used before, and I didn't feel like learning to dodge Waterfall, so it was as good a solution as any. I just wanted to take a quick minute to just talk about this whole level 1 experience. And level 1 isn't really that complicated. You don't need to know anything, you just need to be good at being patient and dodging. What I do love about level 1, at least the way I did it, is the myriad of options and quote-unquote builds you can try, because you don't have to respec, you're not being locked down by choices you made before. Like, you can just pick any piece of equipment, you probably have the runes to spare because you sure aren't using them to level yourself up, and you can just go ahead and try stuff. For many of the bosses, I didn't show it in the video because I don't have enough memory to keep all the failed attempts. Many bosses, for example like Malekith, took me 3 or 4 different weapons approaches that I went through to see which one would stick and which one I would find most enjoyable. And with Opaline, which I also did use later on in the run, you don't even need to play that well, like you can afford being hit once, which is more than enough for many bosses. If you haven't already, I highly recommend you do try out a level 1 run yourself. You can probably even go with magic, with rot and whatever else to make it significantly easier on yourself. But yeah, try it out, see if you like it. I think you just might. And yeah, there's nothing left but to end the game. Next up, I'm probably gonna go for a I only level dex kind of playthrough, cause this run I really crutched hard on stance damage. I know Toto Triceps already did that, but I wanna try it for myself, so I'm probably not gonna watch his video anytime soon, and I'll probably go for something like that myself. We'll see soon enough though. Anyway, like and sub if you liked, have a nice day, and see you around. Bye.